Crypto Kids, welcome back to another live stream. Today, we're going to be jumping into the price of Bitcoin as it is currently seeing a dump towards the downside. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in. You are all absolute legends. And in the meantime, I'm checking if the audio is fine. If the video is fine, please do let me know as well if you can hear me all right and if the video is fine too. So I'm just going to do a double check. I'm checking. Yes, it all looks fine. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the price of Bitcoin. And if you guys are watching this later on YouTube, do make sure to watch until the end, because we're not only going to be discussing about the price of Bitcoin, we're also going to be discussing about Ethereum, which is, unlike Bitcoin, not seeing a drop towards the downside. So it's going to be super interesting to kind of analyze what both of these things are doing. We have some very important updates regarding the ETFs and much, much more. But ladies and gents, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump in and find out what's happening to Bitcoin. So earlier on today with the Moon Show, we were discussing that Bitcoin could potentially see a rejection towards the downside. Now, if you've been a long-term viewer of the channel, we also discussed that coming up towards the ETFs and launches, we could go up to either between $48,500 or $50,200. And this was in line with the two important Fibonacci retracements. And lines of Fibonacci. One was at the golden pocket and the other was at the 61.8. So we kind of landed right in between them at $48,900, and then we saw a correction down. And currently we're sitting at 44K. So that has been a pretty vigorous correction, to be honest. And it was expected. I mean, the ETF was very much priced in, and on the day of the launch, after the day of the launch, we saw a correction down. We also had a double top pattern forming, but we broke the neckline very quick, so there was no time to enter into a short trade. I personally do not like to enter short trades in a bullish cycle, but I like to buy Bitcoin cheaper. And I will let you guys know where I'm personally planning on buying Bitcoin cheaper if this dump continues. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's smash up the likes to 100 likes. I think 100 likes could be a very good target for the first couple of minutes. But let me know, where are you coming from around the world to watch this stream? We have from some viewers from Monaco, which is incredible. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have some viewers from, let's see what happens, right? Let's see where you guys are tuning from. And Mr. M is also in the stream, which is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for helping me set this up, by the way. You are absolutely a massive, massive legend. Mr. M, thank you so much. We have guests, well, not guests, but viewers from Germany and Belgium, Netherlands, UK, Japan, which I will be there, by the way, in approximately 2 weeks. But guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump straight into it and discuss why this dump is happening. Well, we broke down from the crucial level of support of this rising wedge. And in terms of next levels of price targets where Bitcoin can come down to, we're looking at $42,500 right here, which we have previously seen some important level of support. So if we bring out the horizontal line, we can see that Bitcoin usually likes to come back down to this level, trade a little bit in the shorter term timeframes. So 42.5 could be a line to retrace back to. Now, if that doesn't hold, then a more important one is looking, if we want for a bigger line of support that has more impact on the Bitcoin price, it's going to be at $40,700. You can see clearly here that in Bitcoin's history on the 4-hourly time frame, we corrected back to this 40.7K level multiple times, found support, and then continued rallying up. So if Bitcoin does correct from this rising channel, then I think that 40.7K could be a line to correct to. And I don't think Bitcoin will dump a crazy amount. I mean, if we go into the macro chart, we do have a second MRI top, and this candle is not looking good at all. Like, I've been mentioning this in my previous video. It looks like a textbook shooting star candle. And if this 7-period moving average crosses, if the 3-period moving average crosses into the 7-period moving average, then I think it's very much possible we make it down to the 34K level area in the more macro sense. So coming up into next week, I think the next week's candle will be bearish. We will be signaling a potential reversal in price. And I'm looking at $34,000 and $38,000 to give us support. So as I said, I'm not shorting Bitcoin, right? Today we may not drop much more, but again, it is very much possible that we come down to the 42 and 40K levels. In the macro sense, going into next week, I think 38K and 34K will be attractive lines of support, where Bitcoin has at 34K, especially 4.5 billion in liquidations. And Bitcoin likes to grab that liquidity. It's normal. So I'm looking out for those lines of support, and I already have buy orders at both places, which I will be showing you over on Bitflex in just a second. But what is not dumping is actually Ethereum. Ethereum is going against all markets and is currently sitting at $2,600. And we have a target of 3.5K for Ethereum. Now, the reason for this is firstly, we broke out of this ascending triangle that we've discussed multiple times on the channel. We had a beautiful retest, and now we're heading all the way up to the 3.5K area. So it looks super bullish currently. The market looks super bullish for Ethereum, and we broke out of this bullish pennant too. And on top of this, we have some incredible news from Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, which we'll get into again in just a couple of minutes. You can see here, Ethereum compared to Bitcoin is doing fantastically well. We are pumping like crazy when we compare it to Bitcoin, and this is a super bullish sign for Ethereum as capital from Bitcoin. Well, capital enters Bitcoin first in every cycle, then goes into Ethereum, and finally lands in altcoins. So if I do some Hollywood movie magic here and switch back to my face, I can bring up the breaking news about Ethereum that is causing this price move upwards. So let's jump into that as soon as possible. And this is, I am borrowing Carl's setup here. So I've not used this before. I'm used to doing it on my laptop, but it should be completely fine because we have a better mic than usual. So it should be even better than the normal live streams. But if we go over into my browser, we can see that BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says that he sees value in having an Ethereum ETF. Now, straight after the Bitcoin spot ETF approval, we saw Will Clemente post a timeline for the Ethereum spot ETFs. You can see here that VanEck, ARC21 shares, Hashtags, Grayscale, Invesco, iShares, BlackRock, Fidelity, they all want to launch an Ethereum spot ETF, and this has been causing the price to right now sustain and saw a massive increase by up to 13%. I think we climbed to 14% since before we got this news regarding the Ethereum spot ETFs. And of course, we got news about the XRP ETFs. So I don't want to burst your bubble here. I think that an Ethereum spot ETF would be absolutely fantastic, and I'm really rooting for it. But regarding what is going on in terms of, what the SEC chair said following his announcement regarding the Bitcoin spot ETF approvals, he said that Bitcoin is a commodity under the SEC's perspective, but every single other cryptocurrency is an unregistered commodity. He said that the Bitcoin is a commodity, but every single other cryptocurrency in their perspective is an unregistered security. So of course, this doesn't include XRP as they won their case against the SEC, but it's not looking too great for the Ethereum spot ETF. If we see pressure from BlackRock and all of these institutions, yes, it could definitely be approved. But I think that the likelihood of an XRP spot ETF approval is sitting at a much higher probability compared to Ethereum. But if Ethereum does follow the same kind of timeline as Bitcoin did leading up to a Bitcoin spot ETF launch, then we should be pumping all the way up to the launching point with every single new fresh news that we get about it. But on the day of the launch, that will most likely be the top for Ethereum, and then we could see a drop back down. Now, on January 6th, I posted this tweet here. So after we see the attention shift from the Bitcoin ETFs, I think that the new focus is going to be Ethereum ETFs heading into February, and that I'm slowly starting to reaccumulate more Ethereum. So this was posted on January the 6th. I think that was like 6 days ago now, and I've lost complete track of time with the ETF approvals and live streaming day and night. But here I mentioned that I will be accumulating more Ethereum, and I've been doing so in my personal portfolio. So if you do follow me on Twitter on this channel, then again, massive congratulations. If you have been buying Ethereum, you should be up a lot in percentage. But I still do think that 3.5 is the kind of target for Ethereum. And I am planning on buying Bitcoin at 37.95, 31, and 34K. 31 would be amazing because it's so fundamental support for Bitcoin. Whenever we come down to it, we pump way higher, entering into crazy new all-time highs, crazy new bull markets. But if we find resistance on it, like we did entering into this bear cycle, we drop by a massive percentage, coming down eventually to 15.5K. So 31K would be incredible coming up towards the halving especially. And we find support there. And after the halving, Bitcoin can just skyrocket. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm seeing all of your comments. You are absolutely all incredible. for watching the stream. Let's get this stream to 100 likes. That would be very, very much appreciated. But this is the targets that I'm looking to buy Bitcoin on. If you are looking for a place to be trading Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, you can head to the description of this video if you are watching it as a video and sign up to Bitflex using this link. Or if you're watching it in the live stream, you can go to the top pinned comment and you can get up to $88,888 worth in prizes and bonuses. And I have a video linked as well on how to actually use a cryptocurrency exchange to trade, explaining all types of orders, how to set limit orders like I've done here for Bitcoin, and basically everything that you need to know. So definitely check it out. Super educational. Only 20 minutes and very easy to understand. Now going into the other news. So I will get to the ETF stuff because that is pretty mind-blowing and that's kind of the main topic of the live stream too. So this is Franklin Templeton, and they are one of the Bitcoin spot ETF issuers, and they hold approximately $1.5 trillion under management. So they actually changed their profile picture to Benjamin Franklin with the laser eyes. So a $1.5 trillion asset manager doing this is I think super bullish for Bitcoin. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I found it super, super interesting. Now, this is another piece of breaking news regarding the ETFs. We're going to jump into all of the prices of the ETFs. I'm going to be explaining why the prices of the ETFs on different ones are different prices, because I think it is a very common question that the community is asking. We're going to go into MSTR, MicroStrategy, and why that is dumping, and why I think personally it's a better option compared to buying a Bitcoin spot ETF. And we just have a bunch more from Eric Balchunas. We're going to be discussing total net flows into these ETFs and its price impact to Bitcoin on spot. So make sure to stay tuned until the end to not miss out on any of that. But going through the, let's go through it step by step. So this was a podcast done by Laura, Eric Balchunas, and Nate Garassi. The two, Nate Garassi and Eric, are, of course, the two guys that have been keeping us most informed about the ETFs and what the kind of updates are for the past week or two. And massive respect to both of them. Thank you so much for keeping us informed with detailed and non-biased information. We can see here that the community was shocked that Vanguard and other brokerage firms are actually blocking access to the Bitcoin ETFs. Now, this has led to boycott Vanguard trending on Twitter, led by Scott Melker. And it's crazy because Vanguard, well, their kind of reasoning for it is because their philosophies don't align with the Bitcoin spot ETFs. They don't like assets which are crazy volatile in their perspective. And we see over here that we can actually play this potentially, maybe coming closer to the end of the stream. I'll leave that for now because it's gonna make me change a bunch of stuff, and I don't want stuff to go wrong. So we'll leave this to the end of the stream. But if you're interested about why Vanguard is actually blocking off Bitcoin spot ETFs, then stick around until the end. And Vanguard is actually the second largest asset manager in the world behind BlackRock. So this is not too great of news. But in terms of the ETFs, we can see that these are all kind of the almost latest, right? Bitcoin did see a dump a couple of hours ago. So actually going into these 2 hours. So this price is a little inaccurate, but it is mostly accurate. And we can see here that these are all the net asset values, traded volumes, NAV per share, share count, BTC in portfolio, turnover, etc. So a lot of people have been asking, what is all of these numbers and why are all of these ETFs at different price points? Well, that is a very, very good question. And earlier on today, I wrote an entire thread on Twitter discussing about how this actually works, and shout out to Tone Vase for explaining it to me. Basically informing me how the kind of process with ETF goes around, because I'm of course more in the crypto space rather than the ETFs. But I think Bitcoin is dumping furthermore. So let's, I want to check that out. Wow, Bitcoin is at now $43,500, ladies and gentlemen. That is a massive, massive dump. So we're actually nearing the first buying point for Bitcoin at $42,500. I think that's the first line of support that we can come down to. And then the second one would be at 40,750, right? So those are the 2 points that I'm looking into. Again, I'm not shorting Bitcoin. I don't short Bitcoin because it is in a current bullish uptrend, and I am looking to go all in into Bitcoin at these 3 price levels, which you can see over here on Bitflex. Now, We did close a lot of our profits at $46,900, which was basically the line of resistance here. It is fundamentally incredibly important, dating back to March of 2022. And that's where we took a lot of profits from our long position just a couple of days back. So massive congrats to each and every one of you. Now we can go here that actually the reason why Bitcoin is dumping is not because of the blocked access from Vanguard. It's due to other reasons because basically we were mostly priced in. It's buy the rumor, sell the news. We've talked about this multiple times on the channel. A lot of people bought into Bitcoin because Bitcoin was actually because Bitcoin was, going to be listed on the stock exchanges with ETFs. And that's why people bought. Now they're selling. Buy the rumor, sell the news. And going into the other ETF prices, they're also going towards the downside. We can see that GBTC has lost 2.41%. BlackRock has lost 10.65%. We're seeing, I think this is that. Yeah, no, this is RKB. Sorry, this has gone down by 2.05%. This is, yeah, there we go. That's Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund down 8.26%, and Franklin Bitcoin ETF down 1.96%. So the difference between these is actually, so we saw another piece of breaking news, by the way. Now it's revealed that BlackRock has over $120 million in Bitcoin, and this number will increase drastically over time. So we can see here, it's important to note that this is only valid if the price of Bitcoin goes up. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up, then they will be accumulating more Bitcoin into their kind of asset basket. Because if there's more volume, more people buying the ETF, then they need to create more shares, and creating more shares involves accumulating more Bitcoin to support that. And if the price drops, it's very possible that they sell their Bitcoin, potentially causing Bitcoin to drop harder than usual. Because if they sell and everybody else is selling, well, the price should drop faster, and vice versa, right? So in summary, the ratio of Bitcoin held by the ETF issuer should be as close as to being 1-to-1 with the value of the underlying asset itself. And that's the calculation. That's how you calculate the total price for the actual ETF itself. So you look at the BTC in portfolio, you look at the latest traded price, and that is how you calculate the price of the ETF. And going into the latest updates regarding the ETFs, this was posted by Ran Neuner, Crypto Banter, just a couple of hours ago, and this was Eric's response. But quickly checking back into Bitcoin, we are sitting at $43,700. In the very short term, this is also somewhat of a good line of support, but I am watching out for 40,270, did we say 42,500 and 42,500 and 40,750. There we go. I mixed the both up. But if we check Ethereum is not getting too big of a hit, actually. In fact, it is up 2.76% when compared to the other crypto assets that have been falling pretty hard. Yes, we're seeing a small retracement, but it's nothing compared to what Bitcoin is experiencing at this moment in time. But we'll keep in Bitcoin, and then we'll have a look at Ethereum later on in the stream too. So Bitcoin is down 5.62% in the last 24 hours since the Bitcoin ETF listing. And yeah, it was expected. But going over into the latest updates regarding the ETFs. So here we can say that Ran Neuner, the Bitcoin, he mentioned that the first day for Bitcoin trading was terribly unsuccessful. Most people are reporting that 4.5 billion was traded. They're not analyzing the data. If you look at the numbers, you will notice that total trade was 4.6 billion. GBTC was 50% of that 2.3 billion. So the GBTC numbers were a majority of sales outflows due to the higher fees and the old Bitcoin being locked up. Therefore, the real numbers were close to approximately zero in net inflows. However, this is not kind of the case. This is actually a little bit false, says Eric Balchunas. So a lot of people sending me this tweet. On one hand, if GBTC outflows were big, he's right. It was net neutral day for Bitcoin buy-sell by ETFs. On the other, it was a terribly huge success. By all metrics, volume of trades, flows, media coverage, it was smashing success, historical, right? It was a smashing success, and it was a very, very historical event. And we'll get into where in the leaderboard we're actually seeing the ETFs being listed, and it is high up there from my observation of volume. And that was despite limited platform availability, right? So that was not available on Vanguard, for example. Just relax and look at a multi-year process. He's completely right. In the multi-year, we're going to be seeing flows from traditional investors at a much, much more aggressive level into Bitcoin, and this will cause the Bitcoin price to drastically increase over time. When in doubt, zoom out, right? We're approaching the halving, and we know what happens after the halving. Usually Bitcoin experiences a 25-30% correction coming towards it, but after it, we completely destroyed those losses, and we have massive profits. And especially a year after the halving, we kind of hit an all-time high on average if we look at the other Bitcoin cycles. So we can see here that congrats to BITB. I forgot which ticker this was, for winning day one of the Kentucky Derby, as they call it, with $238 million in flows. So FBTC, I think that is by Fidelity, was close in second, while IBIT, a distant third, was also within that region. But they've basically done well, right? So they've done very, very well. And here's how the spot Bitcoin ETFs compared to the big dogs, SPY, the S&P 500, and the QQQ in volume yeast. Really, they held their own, especially in the number of trades and shares. And even notionally, they got a respectable slice of the pie. So you can see here, this is kind of the pie chart comparison of notional traded volume of shares and number of trades. And this is incredible when you compare it to the top traded ETFs on the market. This is really, really impressive. And it has been a massive success. So this is kind of what has been said. They were told that 700,000 individual trades were set out yesterday. It's just looking super, super bullish for the Bitcoin ETFs. BITO smashed the record in terms of volume traded. And here you can see that some of the fund flows from day one likely won't be available until later tonight. So there's nothing to worry. Once we get the total volume, which is actually net inflows rather than outflows, it's going to give us a better indication of whether this was successful or not. But the top leaderboard to be watching out for is the iShares Climate Conscious and Transition MSCA USA ETF. But I would be comparing it more to the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF that launched at the top of the bull market. And of course, the GLD ETF. And if we do better than them, I think it is a massive win. We can see here that BITO had day one flows of $567 million. And I think we have smashed that actually. And we'll get more data. Coming into the end of the trading session today in New York. And once we get that, I think when Bitcoin makes it here, a lot of mainstream media outlets such as Wall Street Journal, etc., they're going to be posting about this. And when they do, more institutional investors that read this will FOMO into Bitcoin. And that should prevent us from having a massive, massive dump in the very short term. But as I said, in the macro, it looks like the Bitcoin is forming a shooting star candle and could reject all the way to 38, 34, and maybe 31K. But at all of those levels, I'm going to be buying Bitcoin and I'm not shorting it because the trend is your friend in technical analysis. But there is something interesting that I came across. Now, we're comparing Bitcoin with the GLD ETF a lot, but there's something to be careful of because while GLD, there are rumors that GLD doesn't actually have the underlying asset of gold. We don't have all of that. I think it's like 68 billion worth of gold. It's not there. But of course, this is a rumor. And once we compare it to the Bitcoin spot ETFs, what we know is that the custodian is actually Coinbase. But if you go to Coinbase asking for, okay, how much Bitcoin do these guys actually have? And where is that? Well, they won't tell you because it's confidential information for privacy reasons. But we don't know for sure that that's actually the truth, if they actually have the Bitcoin in the exchange overall. And yes, it's more of a conspiracy theory, but we know that BlackRock owns a lot of Coinbase. And if that's the situation, we wouldn't even know, right? So gold, there are a lot of rumors, crazy rumors, that they don't have enough of the underlying asset because it's stored in the UK rather than in the US. And if they didn't have the Bitcoin as the underlying asset stored in Coinbase, none of us would know, right? And it's we can't do anything about it. That's why it's, of course, always better as retail traders to accumulate Bitcoin and store it in the safest way possible in actually fully decentralized cold wallets where we can keep control of it. It's just hard for institutional investors to kind of, understand how the blockchain works overall and be bothered to do that. But as us guys that, know about crypto and have been here for a while, the best thing for us is if we want to accumulate Bitcoin, we buy it from exchanges and store it on open source, fully decentralized wallets. I don't like Ledger personally because it's not open source, but what I use is Trezor and a bunch of other stuff to diversify my risk. Now that was kind of the GLD ETF, and Bitcoin is trading at $43,730. And for all of those of you that have just joined the stream, and God, I can't talk, that means I need a sip of water. Okay, that was nice. Make sure to smash up the like button. I think we can easily get to 200 likes on the stream. We're currently sitting at 551 viewers, so it would be much, much appreciated if we can go to 200 likes. That would be amazing. But if we compare Bitcoin to how Ethereum is doing, we can see that Ethereum is up 2.38% compared to Bitcoin being down 5.23%. And this is because, right, for all of those that have been just joining the stream, it's because BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says that he may see value in having an Ethereum ETF, and that's kind of the news that's been holding Ethereum up. And perhaps if Bitcoin wasn't dumping, well, Ethereum could have been trading much higher than where we were today. The total ETH to BTC ratio, ETH is doing way, way better than Bitcoin, and that's why I have been accumulating Ethereum these past couple of days. I've been sharing it on Twitter too, and I think that it's going to do very well going into February. But we had the CPI data come out yesterday. The overall core inflation rate is down by 0.1% compared to 4% that we had in the last meeting. The CPI report. However, the CPI overall is up by 0.3%. Now, what does this mean? Well, the CPI metric is super important because it determines the interest rates. And if interest rates go down, then people will take their money out from their bank accounts and put it into assets such as Bitcoin. And that's what we want, right? Now that Bitcoin has been classified as a commodity, well, it's basically a hedge against inflation. And people will, once they take their money from their bank accounts because they're not getting enough interest anymore, they will put it into more risky assets to potentially collect a higher reward. Now, of course, that includes, real estate, gold, silver, etc. But it may very well include Bitcoin now, especially now that we have more access to institutional investors, that, financial advisors and all of these big companies like BlackRock and Fidelity, they could potentially recommend it to their clientele to put Bitcoin in their 401ks or their Roth IRAs. And eventually, this will create a lot of volume for Bitcoin. And as Eric said, we need to zoom out and focus in the macro scale. In the macro, everything is looking fine. Even though we're seeing an expected correction on Bitcoin, we are looking at 42.5 and 40.75. Bitcoin is holding this level very nicely though, so far, right? We could fall down further. In terms of opening positions, I am just going to buy Bitcoin lower. I'm not looking to short Bitcoin. And we can see since the last video, the expectations of a rate cut has increased to 68.1% in March. So that would add to the bullishness that we have in the markets, and it would enable, hopefully, investors to start spending money on more risky assets. But even though that they're not and interest rates are super high, the stock market is doing very well. I think we created an all-time high actually for the stock market, which is not bad at all. Honestly, I've been expecting it to drop, and it should be technically speaking, but I think it's super manipulated at the moment. And it's going to be interesting to see what the stock market does, what the Fed does coming up to the US elections. So that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about Bitcoin overall. Maybe if I do some movie magic, we can switch over into the price of Ethereum and see how Ethereum is holding up compared to Bitcoin over on TradingView. So I just need to switch this so that I'm sharing my TradingView tab. And we go there and we select the window we want to share. So that's Ethereum. Perfect. And if we switch to the screen, you should be seeing the price of Ethereum compared to BTC. So this is ETH BTC, tradable on Binance, by the way, and it has done a massive, massive gain. And once we look at Ethereum here, it is holding up pretty well. Yes, it's seen a small drop, but it's nothing compared to how much we've been pumping these past couple of days. And again, massive congrats if you did enter into an Ethereum long trade or accumulated Ethereum on spot, as we broke out from this ascending triangle, retested perfectly to this line of resistance, broke out of this bullish pennant on smaller timeframes, and now it looks like that Ethereum could be heading to the 3.5K level. Of course, if the spot ETFs get approved, if we get news that, no, hold on, this is not happening from the SEC, then it could cause a severe correction on Ethereum. So I would just be careful. I'm personally, whatever I make in profits from Ethereum, I'm going to shift it back into Bitcoin, as I do have the midterm goal of accumulating basically all of my portfolio in Bitcoin. But what we're seeing here is a reduction from the ascending rising wedge, right? And we did see a breakdown followed by a double top. And the targets that I'm looking for Bitcoin right now are 42.5 and 40.7K. But in terms of, the macro chart, we're getting very, very close towards the halving. And getting so close towards the halving, right, it's just giving us massive opportunities to buying Bitcoin from my standpoint. And by the way, we smashed the 2 take profits for this parallel channel that we were talking about multiple videos ago. So we first came up to 45.8K, as we discussed, and then we smashed the 47.5K target, and now we're seeing a direct reversal from those 2 levels. So once again, you guys are doing super well, I'm hoping, and I'm trying to do my best to put the best content out for you guys as much as possible, and I hope you're enjoying them. Make sure sure to leave in the comment section below your thoughts and thoughts for improvement for the content, because of course I'm making these videos and live streams for you, and I'd love to hear your feedback. But guys, let's smash the like button to 200 likes. I think it's very, very much possible that we do so. Yeah, it would be amazing. So in the long-term scale, we do have a golden cross on Bitcoin. But I did talk about this in previous videos too. Whenever we see a massive major crossover for the Bitcoin price with EMAs or SMAs, the price is usually attracted towards it. We kind of see a bounce and then we go exponentially higher. That's how moving averages work, especially on larger timeframes. It tends to work even better. So if this shooting star gets confirmed on the end of this candle, right, we may see that drop starting to happen. We have to look out for 38K, 34K, and of course, 31K would be beautiful. And by the time we see that drop, it's actually going to perfectly come and test to these moving averages. And look, we can see how phenomenal this level is. If I just draw a line of support at 31K, I can demonstrate to you how crucial it really is. So if we get a horizontal line here and put it at 31K exactly, you can see that Bitcoin back in 2020, when we had the first massive bull cycle, we pumped all the way to $41,000. We saw a retest to this 31K level and ended up pumping all the way to $60,000. So Bitcoin saw like let's see how much percent it actually did after retesting here. We pumped up by almost, well, actually over 100%, which is incredible. And we did the same thing. After we saw 64K, we dumped back down to this 31K level and pumped to a new all-time high of $69,000. Then we tried to correct back to it, but we saw a relief rally. And after seeing a relief rally to 46.9, which is where we took profits on our long trade, then we saw a decrease to the 31K level again, found resistance and entered into the massive bear market where we dumped to $15,000. And now, ladies and gentlemen, after breaking out of it, we entered into this massive parabolic move. So if we dump to 31K, it would be beautiful, but I think that 34K or 38K is much more likely to this. Now, the final topic of today's video or live stream, depending on when you're watching it, is XRP. So I personally think that XRP is looking very, very bullish, and the news regarding the ETFs are not priced in at all. So I think XRP having an ETF is much more likely compared to Ethereum having its ETF approved, as XRP is basically not classified as a security, whereas in terms of the SEC's perspective, Ethereum could be an unregistered security. So XRP looks much more bullish to me rather than Ethereum. But hey, look, we still do have a 3.5K target for Ethereum. Ladies and gents, let me know if you want me to have a quick look at any other altcoins. If that is the situation, do let me know if you want me to look at any, and I'll have a look at them before ending off the stream. But other than that, wishing all of you a very, very happy weekend. Let me know in the chat and I'll go through them very quickly, and then we'll go through any other emergency updates. So in the meantime, I'll just scroll through Twitter to see if there is anything that really catches my attention. So if we go here, and see if there's anything new from James Seyfarth or especially Eric Balchunas, that would be great. So we can see here, yeah, there's nothing new in terms of the ETFs, which is beautiful. We can have a very nice sleep finally after so many days. And I can see all of your altcoins coming in. I'm going to check them in just a second. But hey, look, the Inverse Kramer ETF is actually, Kramer topped it, called the top, which was pretty crazy. For the first time, Ethereum, as Jim Cramer actually called it. So let me switch over back into my browser. This is gonna really surprise you because it definitely did surprise me a lot as well. So let's do some movie magic and switch back into the browser. And if I share my screen here, we can see that, well, Kramer was right. And I can't believe that I'm saying these, but if you held Inverse Kramer shares, Kramer ETF shares, you would be in a loss right now because he called it. So earlier on today, I said it was bullish, but hey, it's not bullish. It's not bullish at all, unfortunately. And we hit 200 likes, by the way. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. But look at that. Checking in with Larry Williams, major top in Bitcoin, major. And guess what? Look, we got to admit, he was right. He was right. For the first time, he was right. And we just got to pay our respects to him. And who was also right, other than Jim Cramer, that surprised us a lot, actually, was Capo, right? And Capo called this perfectly, and his analysis was very, very similar to ours. So you can notice he was also calling a pump to the 48 to to $50,000 range, coming up towards the ETF approvals. And that's exactly what we did, right? And now that we're breaking down from the support of this rising wedge, he's expecting Bitcoin to go down to the 30 to 31K region. But I do need to add this. I don't think Bitcoin will drop below 31K. I don't think it's going to happen. So if we come down there, remind me, right? If I don't follow my words, I will definitely do so. But do remind me to actually buy Bitcoin, right? Because the psychology can get complicated. If Bitcoin dumps to 30K, then everybody's going to be like, oh, 25K. But when we're at 49K, you could see all the mainstream media was like, okay, we're going to see 500K. So when there is a massive discrepancy between the two, it's usually a time to be either getting out or getting into positions. It's just the fear and greed index. If there's a lot of fear in the market, it's usually a time to buy. If there's a lot of greed, then it's a time to sell. It's very hard for people to do psychologically because, well, media tricks them. But hey, if you stick to your TA and disregard the emotion, then it should be completely fine. But hey, he was right. Let's see if we go down to that target. We basically have very similar TA. So I'm going to evil like on this capo tweet, which is perfect. But let's and don't be misjudged, right? I do expect Bitcoin to eventually reach an all-time high very, very soon, coming up towards 2025 Q1. And remember, right, the United States reached a national debt of $34 trillion, increasing as we speak. So I am just I just can't wait until January 2025. If we see that the US dollar starts losing its value and we see a global Bitcoinization, then Bitcoin will go to tremendous places. And that's why, however cheap we can buy Bitcoin, I'm personally buying. And you can. I definitely would recommend reading the Bitcoin Standard. After reading that, my entire perspective changed. I was super bullish on Bitcoin anyways, but now I'm like mega bullish. So definitely read the Bitcoin Standard if you haven't so already. But I'm just looking at your comments now for potential altcoins to look into. And let's see, Solana. Let's have a look at Solana because it is an alternative to Ethereum, right? So let's have a look at Solana and see how Solana is doing. We all know that Solana has been doing incredibly well. But I personally don't like Solana as a blockchain too. Remember, when there was so many transactions, when when Solana NFTs were a very hot topic, kind of the entire kind of system used to stop working, right? I do remember while I was sending a transaction, Solana just went down, and after like an hour or so, it came back up. That was very worrying. And I don't know if they've done any improvements. I'm not too big of an altcoin guy. We could ask maybe Da Vinci; he would know better. But if that's the case, then yes, I'm back to being bullish on Solana. And we've not seen a drastic drop. We've only been down by 4%. And once we compare it to how much we've pumped over the past couple of weeks, of course, it's nothing. So massive congrats if you are a Solana holder. What I can see, though, is a potential bull flag. So if Solana manages to break above $107, I think we can see a continuation in the rally towards the $125 to $130 region. So that's what I'm looking at for Solana. And if you guys do want to trade Solana and multiple other cryptocurrencies, you can head over to the description of today's live stream /video and get up to $88,888 worth in prizes and bonuses by signing up to Bitflex using this link. And I have, of course, a full video on how to use a cryptocurrency exchange and actually how to trade on a platform like this, because I know it's super confusing when you're especially a beginner. It took me a while to understand it. So I created that fully simplified tutorial into basically going into everything that you can see on the screen right now. But Bitcoin is at $43,500. Somebody was asking, are you going into a long position now? No. I'm not, because we already have a long position, which we took a lot of our profits at this range here. And I'm glad we did, because it was super important level of resistance. We talked about this in multiple videos, how far that resistance goes back. Of course, this is the $10,000 trading challenge. So there isn't much equity in this trade currently, but maybe going towards, I will put a lot more here, especially when I go all into Bitcoin, basically. But this is just a cool challenge that we're doing. So far, so good. It's doing so far, so good. The stop loss is at $40,650. And at that point, of course, we'd be buying Bitcoin for cheaper, and we'd be closing this trade in profits anyways. But that is kind of what I'm doing with my personal positions. But let's go into Dogecoin, and then we'll end it off, because it is late, and I have been live streaming basically every single day now. And I need to just take a little bit of a rest and kind of take a vacation on this weekend, but I will be doing videos, of course. So do make sure to stay tuned, turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any updates. If Bitcoin decides to crash further, we'll be here streaming it. If Bitcoin pumps back, we'll also be here streaming it. So let's go and jump into the trading view charts and look into Dogecoin. And while I do that, I need to do some movie magic as always, and go into Dogecoin. because that is one of the recommendations from you guys to look into. So let me stop sharing the browser and go into TradingView. And if we go into TradingView, we can go here and we can see that over on TradingView, we type in Dogecoin, we're going to be getting an interesting chart. I know we were forming a massive triangle, and I think that triangle has extended by a massive sum. So we can still see here that it's like a downward sloping resistance. It's like a support. It's looking pretty interesting here. And if we draw a line of resistance, we can't really do it. I mean, we're kind of testing it back, which is bullish, but I just can't incorporate some of these candles. That is annoying. And that's why it's looking more like a curve, more like a sloping level of support rather than a straight line support. And I'm not a massive believer in these sloping supports either, but hey, just for today, why not take a look at it? And it's going to take some time to actually draw this out. That is a bit of an annoying one here on TradingView. But if we do this, you can kind of see that the support is sloping. So where I would be buying Dogecoin essentially is actually, I do have a lot of Dogecoin holdings, like I've mentioned previously in many videos, because I am super bullish on it just because of Elon Musk. And if Dogecoin does dip more, then I think 0.064 would be a good entry, personally, according to my TA. Of course, always do your own research, do your technical analysis, your own technical analysis before trading or investing. Super, super important. But other than that, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And if Dogecoin holds this level, then we could be potentially seeing a massive move up, especially if we see an altcoin season going into after the halving. And the way to check when an altcoin season is going to start, that's going to be by going to the crypto cap, excluding Bitcoin. So crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, and we can see here, this is it, right? If I jump into, because I've saved it in my lists, and that should be it. Yeah, there we go. No, it's the second one because it's excluding Bitcoin. And here, we're out of a massive accumulation phase, a very similar one that we saw in 2019. So after we broke out from this accumulation phase for the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, we saw a massive push towards the upside, taking us to $1.58 trillion in market cap, just a little bit more than that. And now we're breaking out of this accumulation zone once again, and I think altcoins can do very, very well. So while they're on a discount at this current moment in time, I think it could be a good idea to start accumulating some altcoins, with Dogecoin being one of them. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes our update on the markets. I'm just thinking if there is anything else that I want to mention. Let me go through your comments one last time and see what you guys are saying. Maybe I'll save, I'll wait for a Matic TA. We'll do that in the next video. Remind me if I don't do it. I think Matic is a very good one. Stacks has been performing very, very nicely, actually. And we've mentioned Stacks in previous videos. So again, congrats if you decided to hold some Stacks. I'm super bullish on it, and anything that's building on Bitcoin, working on making Bitcoin better, I am very bullish on overall. And I'm just trying to look through the comments. We do have a lot of comments coming in here. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your support. But yeah, I think that kind of concludes it. Matic I'm super bullish on because all of the gaming projects are actually building on Matic. And in terms of the layer 1 blockchains, I think Polygon or Matic or whatever it is, it's still a bit confusing. I think that's the best one out of all of them. I think BNB chain is nice. I think Matic is nice, but Solana tends to crash a lot when there's a lot of congestion or a lot of people using the network. Ethereum, there's a lot of gas fees. And I think in the top altcoins overall, I think Polkadot is nice, but hey, I'm just looking for a new layer 1 that can enable more and more coders that know different languages, such as Python or JavaScript, that can code in one blockchain so that we don't. Maybe I'll make a full video on this. This is very interesting. And one of my friends is developing a layer 1 project, and I'm super interested in it because we need to bring as many coders and developers into crypto as much as possible. And currently, it's super hard for a Python developer or a JavaScript developer to be coming into the crypto space, not knowing Substrate, not knowing Rust, and start developing products on crypto. And once we create a solution, a layer 1 that enables these existing developers to come and build on crypto or Bitcoin or any of the other cryptocurrencies, I think we'll see a massive inflow of users and create a mainstream product other than Bitcoin that everyone uses on a day-to-day basis. But ladies and gentlemen, that summarizes our video for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the live stream or watching the full video if you are watching this after it's posted. If there is any other significant price move, we'll be covering it live or making a video. So make sure to turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. Subscribe, leave a like. Ladies and gents, I'm CryptoKid. Have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you all very soon. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.